Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Got a bunch of stuff to get to. I'm going to start off with the Candace Erika Franze feud, which, has kind of run its course, right? We've reached this stage in this TPUSGAY thing where nothing's going to happen. Like, it was always nothing was going to happen. But there's that point in the story where you realize, okay, this has kind of run its course, right? And now it's just down to like drama and bullshit, whatever's going on here. But at some point you realize, oh, nothing's going to come of this, right? And it always ends like this, and then people move on to their next rabbit hole to jump down. But this popped up. So Erika Franze and JT Massey were a couple who wanted to go on the Amazing Race. So she was doing everything in her power to get on reality TV, and this, speaks to her really wanting to be seen, right?
It's all good, baby, baby. It was all a dream.
Hi.
Hi.
Good morning, America.
I've lived in China. I've lived in Chongqing. I've been to Romania. I've been to Croatia. Lived in Puerto Rico for a little bit. Really handsome.
You look gorgeous. Are you fixing my... I got a little bacon. Babe, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage. People want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sex sells, babe.
Sex sells. That's me.
Boom. All right. So, people are making a big deal of her saying sex sells. And I don't care if she had sex with this dude. The thing that really should be a kind of a red flag, though, is that she has a way of acting with men where she laughs at everything. She did this with her co-star. She's very flirtatious in a weird, superficial, over-the-top way. Which would mean that her relationship with Charlie Kirk was performative because, this is the kind of thing that, like, she's like luring men into a trap. Like, this isn't like a normal reaction. Laughing at things that are not funny. Like, how long are you going to keep that up, right? How long are you going to fake laugh? You can go fucking 60 years, 20 years, 15 years, fake laughing at everything your dopey fucking husband says. Like, that isn't funny. So, like, let's watch a little bit of that. It's hard to watch, but this is what she does. And she was still doing, like, her way she's acted around this guy is exactly how she acted around Charlie Kirk. Right? So, it's not like a real relationship because it's completely performative. It's as over the top and as fake as her crying is, right? Like, I don't know how she, what her actual state is, but I think she's pretty just bitchy and, whatever.
That's against religion. It's not.
Like the way she's looking at him and the way she's laughing.
Within the confines of marriage.
Oh, wait, let's go back. There's something there.
Lived in Puerto Rico for a little bit. Really handsome.
You look gorgeous. Are you fixing my... I got a little bacon. Babe, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage. People want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sex sells, babe.
Sex sells.
Sex sells, babe. Babe.
That's me.
That's against religion.
It's not. It's within the confines of marriage.
And then she said within the confines of marriage. And that was an over-the-top laugh reaction, right? Like, why are you laughing like that? Like,
I don't... We need...
What? We're checking the line? Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we're checking the line. Roll camera one!
Okay. This is what they sent to the Amazing Race. How come you guys didn't get on the show?
Hi, I'm JT Massey. I am 25 years old from Chattanooga, Tennessee. I'm a minor league baseball player with the Colorado Rockies, and I'm going to be racing with my girlfriend.
Hi, I'm Erika Franze. I'm 25 years old from Scottsdale, Arizona, and I currently live in Venice, California.
Boom. So she's been all over the place. In New York and in and Venice is basically so she could try to be in Hollywood, right? So she wanted to be like a famous actress model. I mean, she was out there to be a performer, right? To be some sort of famous person. And the way she looks at him, right? This all is like, you see this, she did this with J.D. Vance. She does this with any of these, if she was when she was interviewing with some guy, like after the grieving period's over. Like before, this is how she acted when she was around Charlie Kirk. So this is her performance. Like this is her, you know, um, I'm trying to land a guy, like I'm trying to hook a guy, right? Kind of thing. Or this is how she acts when she's in public with her boyfriend or her husband. Like it's just the same thing. Which means that she doesn't have like an authenticity button, like where she's being authentic. I mean, at least not what we've seen publicly. This is what she does. She makes these flirtatious eye thing, and then she smiles and laughs a lot.
So March 1st, we went on our first date.
Well, I got it wrong because I thought it was
Yes.
the day before, and I called him and I was like, "Hi, so I'm gonna be running late for our date," and he's like, "Actually, it's tomorrow."
Yeah, I'm sitting at dinner with my dad.
So it sounds like this kind of same story she told with Charlie. This is like the exact Charlie thing that we saw when they were talking about how they got together.
In Arizona, and I'm like, did I mess up the date or what?
Oh, it's so fucking interesting. You guys got the dates wrong. It's so fucking interesting. Wow. Let's do another fucking hour on this fucking your first date because it's amazing. So fucking interesting, you guys. Just you're bringing it.
End up standing up from the table to call her, and she messed up the date.
I did. So we went to Maggiano's.
Yeah, it worked out.
It was good.
You went to a restaurant? Wow, let's talk about that. What do you have? Did you have an appetizer? Like,
We went to Maggiano's.
the way she's looking at him, right? This is, oh, I'm so in love with you. I'm smiling, like, I bet she's like this on the first date. Like, this is like how she is. Barely knowing somebody and doing this. She did this with a gay dude that she later said, I'm not interested in you at all. I'm interested in, like, helping you be whatever you want to be and being on this reality TV show. I showed you those clips, right? When she went out to lunch with them. See, this is how she acts.
I picked her up. It was raining.
It was.
Kind of different night in Arizona, and picked her up at her house, and later met her mom.
That's funny.
The first night.
It's a big deal for the
Exciting
first
stuff.
night.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
It's so funny. It's so fucking funny. Wow, you met my mom? Why? Fucking hilarious.
scare her off or anything.
But it was good.
It was great. Easy conversation.
And then we spent literally every single day with each other since then. And I couldn't go to his house that he was staying at because I wasn't allowed to, because the girl who was married to the guy he was living with was very territorial of her nest. So we had to
Oh, so that's fucking weird.
brainstorm of different places to socialize and
Meet
and
at. Hang out.
So we would close
spend
out
time.
coffee shops and Chipotle's,
Bunch of
and
Chipotles.
we just brainstormed. We would do a ton of
Let's brainstorm. You got to figure out where we can go and hang out because my crazy mom's at my house. I live with my crazy mom, and you live with your crazy roommate's girlfriend. Won't let me in the house because, I'm a fucking witch and she's got all this salt and garlic she put up there to keep me away from the house. And so, like, the fuck.
did hiking together.
We hiked Camelback Mountain.
We did. That was fun.
Yeah, but just every day in March, a new adventure. We walked around that one park.
Why did you just smile like that? Watch her just smile.
We just brainstormed. We did hiking together.
We hiked
Just
Camelback
smile
Mountain.
for no
We
reason.
did. That was fun.
Right here.
Yeah, but just every day in March, a new adventure. We walked around that one park.
Jesus Christ, you crazy bitch. All right. So, I'm just going to go through. Let's jump way ahead here. I'm not I'm not just, that's all, but I can only watch a little bit of this. But she acts this is her stick. This is how she interacts with men. And, I think it's very off-putting for women. Like, people don't like her. Like, that's the whole thing. And these are the reasons why. Like, she's over the top happy. And, people, when they act really happy, most people are not happy. So they don't like to see other people happy. Like, a lot of people are just miserable and bitter, whatever. And all the stuff, the beauty queen stuff, like it's things that women don't like. And she is just over the top, the fake laughing. She does this throughout. I only watched another couple minutes of this. In fact, I don't even know if I got that far last night. My wife sent this to me. And I'm like, Jesus Christ, this is 15 minutes long, right? It's just so much you can take. She's really repulsive. I mean, Candace Owens with her weird mannerisms and all her bullshit, like she comes up with interesting things, like, things that are oftentimes stuff that other people have covered or, but they're like there's stuff to keep you engaged as an audience, right? Laughing and giggling and then every once in a while bringing up God, like it's not a real thing. It's just all fluff.
And had several offers to go play, and it just worked out for me to sign with the Rockies when I was an 18-year-old to pursue that dream that's kind of always been my dream since I was 4 years old.
But he's street smart.
You're the smart one.
I guess I could be the book smart side, and you're
I'm the street smart.
I graduated magna cum laude from Arizona State University. I took kind of the scenic route of school. I went to, like I said, Regis University in Denver for basketball, and then transferred to Loyola Marymount University in LA. And then when I won Miss Arizona USA, I had to move back home to Arizona and finish at ASU just because I wanted to be in the state that I was representing, and it was going to be a lot. So since we're used to...
Jesus Christ, all right. It's spitting, thank God. Oh, thank God for this thing. All right. So, like this is her. This is like her thing. She's got, this is what she acts like normally. Occasionally she gets fierce, like some serious dark side comes out, like you saw a little bit on the reality show. When the guy asked if she thought he was her soulmate, she's like, no, you're not my soulmate, you're gay. Or maybe she likes the gay dudes. But, she had multiple boyfriends. Like these guys, he said they spent like every second with each other. They're two crazy kids in love. And let's see if it's...
We saw, yeah, team t-shirts are super awkward.
No, we're going to make fun of you if you make a team t-shirt.
We would definitely make fun of you.
That's coming down hard.
And we wouldn't even be afraid to make fun of you. We would probably make fun of you to your face too.
For sure.
Because whatever we say about them, behind their back, we would say to their face.
Exactly. That's how she rolls. She's just the kind of person she is. All right.
You need to like jump stuff to go to get to tickets or to different.
All right. So, I don't even know where they got this. Like, but people are getting shit on her, and like it's not good because people don't like her. It's nobody does. TPS. She might have a small. I mean, who knows? Like what it is. So it's a percentage. But the people who are Charlie Kirk fans, 90% are against her. And so, Candace is losing her audience. I think people have, are over this whole thing. But I guess she went in on her. I didn't see the show. So I think, I don't know how I know about it, but she's going after Erika Franze now. Okay, so apparently Erika of Kirk is firing people. That's what this is about. I forgot. Okay, this only got 1 million views. Again, still 1 million views, but like it's down. I mean, she's lost maybe 60% of her audience now. It'll get more views today. Her last video got 1.2 million views and then popped up to 1.5. But she was getting 2 point something and 3 and 4 million at some of these videos. I think people are just over the Erika Kirk thing. There's other shit going on, like I covered with Trump. Here, let's
All right, you guys. Arizona, you should know, is an at-will employment state. What that means is that employers can fire you for any reason at all. It's not illegal for them to do so, but the question is it immoral for them to do so after the company rakes in $250 million off the back of its founder's assassination, and employees are working overtime to help make that happen? I'll let you guys decide because the stories that are coming out right now, first-person accounts over a round of firings, stories are stunning, truly stunning. We also now have a never-before-seen text message, which Charlie Kirk received, this time from a loving, very loving Christian Zionist donor. And I want to be clear, it reads to me like a threat. Again, I will let you guys decide. Let's jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace.
Right. So the thing about it is, like, nobody cares anymore. Like, and she fucked this thing up with the whole. She got rolled by Mitch Snow. Like, she probably knew in her whatever team she has, or whatever this is, whatever stage, whatever it is that happened with that fucking Mitch Snow bullshit, that she was going to lose some audience share, which she has. And so now she seems to be going just straight up at TPUSGAY, which is what everyone wanted in the first place. Because no one gives a shit about, all the other aspects, maybe it's stuff to do with Israel. But no one gives a shit about the French Foreign Legion or the Egyptian planes or all these things. Like, it's down the rabbit hole shit. And then once people kind of get over that, which is, that stuff doesn't last forever. The suspending of, the whole, the TV series Lost, where you keep people in, a state of withholding information. So now it's where it should have been all along with her going after Erika, which is what this was about from the fucking beginning. Clearly she was doing this in a way because, whatever Candace felt about it, like, she thought she would probably be she should be the person running TPUSGAY. Like, she should host the show because she can hold an audience, and the two twinks, the two beta males sharing one testicle guys over there can't do shit, right? Like, so, like, she's the logical choice because she already has a huge audience, and it's a cross-sectional audience of people who liked her or like her and liked him, right? It's the same fan base. And so they should have brought her back. But they couldn't because they're getting money from Israel. So they had a choice between their fans and keeping a good show. And with the stuff that she covers in a way that they don't, right? Like, she's over the whole, everything that she stands for is not what TPUSGAY is about. Like, they're not conspiratorial. Let's see what she says here. Fuck.
Look, Charlie was threatened. He was threatened a lot, I would say, threatened financially. And I want to be clear, it wasn't just by Jewish donors, but also by Christians.
All right, so let's see what she has this fucking tweet here.
Teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple...
I don't know where. Okay, so it's got to be a tweet that she's reading here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's just go with that.
This, okay? All of the people that trusted you...
Yeah, I'll just read it and then we'll not have to listen to her as much as... All these people that trusted you, Jews and Christians, including me, why would you platform anti-Semites like Candace and Tucker? There are many evangelical Christian Zionists who would never give these people the opportunity to spew their hatred. I'm one of them. You say you're accusing you of being an anti-Semite because you disagree with the Israeli government. Well, it is exactly that you disagree with. Well, what is it exactly you disagree with? You threaten Jews and Christians with your 30 million followers? Are you kidding? Be very careful, Charlie. You are in violation of your 9th commandment by bearing false witness against your brother Judah. When was the last time you read your Bible, Charlie? I'm coming to you as a believer. Who gives a shit, right? Whatever your thing is, this thing goes on, or whatever it might be. So there's that. There was something else, I think, from Tyler Boyer here. Candace and the rest of Jews are under attack. GD warns us in the last days that he will wipe out the descendants of Edom because they stood while their brother Jacob, Israel, was held in captivity and did nothing. Don't be counted among the Edomites. Fuck. I don't want to be counted among the Edomites. Don't count me among the Edomites. it'll be your peril as well as you finish your work God was going to do through you. You know, the Old Testament sucks. I've talked about it. You know, if you read it objectively and you had any sense of what God is, you know, you evolve in your understanding and your experience of God. And the way that God's presented in the Old Testament is like not God at all. That's not. It's a demon. They worship a demon. It's demonic worship. Narcissistic piece of shit God who's jealous and petty and sits on some throne and is always like wrathful and angry and all these things, which has nothing to do with God. Like that's just an angry fucking demonic king, right? That's a demonic person that they're worshiping, and you know that is going to punish you, and you should be scared of God because God is always pissed off, and like he's like a fucking mob boss, right? Somebody, he's like Trump, you know, narcissistic and can't take any kind of jealous. I mean, a jealous God, right? I mean, that's the part. Let me see if I find something. The Bible describes God as jealous God, notably in Exodus 34:14, Exodus 25, meaning he demands exclusive loyalty in worship because he lacks anything like sinful human envy, but because he rightfully claims his people devotion, protecting his honor and covenant relationship with rivals, idols, and other gods. The jealousy is holy, righteous passion for his people, faithlessness, akin to a husband's zeal for his wife, as seen in the metaphor of the Israel as God's bride. Exodus 34:14, for you shall worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. His name is actually jealous. Like his name fucking straight up is jealous. He's pretty jelly. Why are you so jelly, God? God, why are you so jelly? You shall, Exodus 25, you shall not bow down to them to worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing children for their sin of the parents to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. Deuteronomy 4:24, for the Lord your God is consuming fire, a jealous God. Nahum 1:2, the Lord is jealous and avenging God. The Lord takes vengeance and filled with wrath. The Lord takes vengeance on his foe and vents his fury on his enemies. And James 4:5, or you do think Scripture says without reason that there is a spirit God sent to dwell in us and dwell in us jealously. So what's important about this is that, you know, why would God be jealous? Like, why in the fucking world would God be jealous, right? Why would God be jealous of anything? Like why would God care about you worshiping Baal or Moloch or any of these fucking idols, right? Like, you know, demons and the things that are, you know, lesser beings. Why would God be jealous? Like, why would God, who is created everything, the heaven and the earth, to be insecure? Like, why would God be an insecure little bitch that's jealous about all these things, right? You know, so the way that God is presented in the Sajmark system, the meditation that I do, now compare this to a petty, jealous God, like God has created everything. That in terms of this kind of thing, where, you know, so this is 100% about you worshiping the God of the Bible, that you worshiping, and he would punish you, the sin of the parents to the third and fourth generations. So your great grandkids would still be getting punished for you saying shit about God. Like, you punish 4 generations of your family, like, even though they had nothing to do with it. Like, that's what a little bitch God is presented as this is not a God, this is a demon. Like, this is a Trump, people who get jealous. I mean, Trump really represents the pettiness and the weakness. This is why so many Christians probably gravitate to him, like thinking this is okay. So, in Sajmark, no force is to be used. And this transmission that's given, the divine energy that's given through this transmission, which is God's love, is that it's supposed to win you over. And there's just all this talk about it. Like the third master of the system talks about how, that love patiently born, eventually, if you just keep on loving and sending love, it attracts people. Like it'll win people over. Like the example is the way water will wear its way through a canyon, through hard rock. And wind and water, will make these subtle things of wind and water will slowly wear away the hardness of the rock. Like love wears away the ego and the stuff that isn't in the person's best interest. And love, if you just keep on loving, eventually the love will win out. Like just without expecting anything in return. God just loves and keeps on loving and eventually calls you back home. Like your heart eventually feels the love after whatever bullshit you have to do, how many lifetimes, how many bad decisions you have to make. Eventually your heart is, filled with God's love and you have to come back. Like you're compelled, you choose to come back. God never forces you to return his love. There's no jealousy because God is love, right? And love is not jealous. So it's something where inside Shmark, people are allowed to leave without any pressure or any kind of things like this. Because you can't make people do anything. You can use fear to try to scare them, oh, you're going to hell. Oh, God's going to punish you. And you can try to tempt them, hey, if you do this, you're going to get this thing. You're going to get this wonderful gift to heaven and whatever. But that doesn't fucking work, right? But look at what people will do for love, right? Look at what people will do when they love something or somebody. The love of their job, the love of their spouse, the love of their children. What people will do for, people, that's why religion is it's so sought after. Because what people will do for God, what they'll do for love, what they'll do for, loving God, it's like so much more. You get people who are fighting for love as opposed for money, like mercenaries, right? A mother fighting for her children over, trained soldiers that are fighting for pay. Like it's a totally different level of commitment, what people will do for love. And so you don't have to scare them and, talk about being jealous. So this is, it's not a religion. It's not a real thing. It's just, it just sucks. Love that just, eventually wears you down and, just not wears you down in a bad way, right? Because it's so subtle. And so why the fuck would God use jealousy and fear? Doesn't have to. And it's not what God is. Doesn't have a mind. God doesn't have an ego that can get jealous. Like you have to have an ego to feel jealous, right? You have to be separate from everything and everybody. God is in you. God is everything. So God doesn't have to be, everything that is in creation is created by God, on a soul level. Like the material world is created from the spiritual world that is all, based in God. So, God, why would God be jealous? Fucking stupid shit, right? Doesn't make any sense. Like it's, like if you think about, the higher nature of anything, jealousy is like one of the worst things, right? And it's when you're separate from things. How could God be jealous of something he himself created? Are you jealous of your own, creation? Like you created it. It's yours. It's your baby. It's your, everybody is like you're part of your creation. You love your creation, especially when you're pure love. And he doesn't have an ego, so he can't get jealous. So the egotistical God sitting on a throne is a fucking demon. That's not a real thing. And it's destroyed this world. Like this is a bad religion that's spread out to 3 religions, Islam and Christianity. And it's based in like very immature levels of a very immature God presented by a very spiritually undeveloped people that has, pervaded this world. It's half the people in the world identify in these 3 religions. Most of them Christians and Muslims, but still it's all stemmed from the same bullshit ideas about God. This is not what God is. Anyways, let's get back to it. Okay, so this video is broken down into 3 sections. The first one's about Charlie Kirk being threatened by an evangelical priest that said, don't be like the, what is it, whatever it is, the Edomites. Telling Charlie not to be an Edomite. Don't be a fucking Edomite, Charlie. And then this is entitled Laura Franze's Mysterious Companies. We don't really need to see any of this, just...
Father. And they have a repeat business partner, a repeat business couple, Shelley and Lyle Reams, meaning they...
No way. Who are those fucking guys? Why would they ever be partners with those motherfuckers? Who are they? Like fucking... This is where Candace just goes down the rabbit hole and finds any little things and just makes them something suspicious. I mean, the Franzes are suspicious, and Erika Kirk is suspicious based in how fake Erika Kirk is and how much of an asset she is. I mean, like an asset that's not panning out, right? An asset, that's not delivering. Okay. So if I didn't say the date, today is, I believe, the 23rd of October. It's Friday. This video is not going up till Saturday. I have to make a short video on Louis C.K. and how he's turned into Woody Allen. That's going to be on my Apocalypse Now channel, which is getting views, but not a lot of ads or good ads or whatever. So, but I'm just going to keep on making short videos there for a while to save the. It might go on for a long time. Just maybe might get down to once a week at some point, but there'll be activity over there, and so So I'm editing. For the life of me, I didn't know why I said it was October. I did this the other day. I said December on my video on the other channel for, it's January. It's Friday, January 23rd, 2026. And so, I'm losing it. But anyways, let's get back to it here. Anyways, here's her thing about the TPUSGAY employees that are fired.
Use code Candace at checkout. So remember when yesterday I told you how I received a legal letter in part for noting that a bunch of military men seem to have infiltrated Turning Point USA? That was one of the sentences. You said military men infiltrated Turning Point USA. Well, this is a fun tweet that somebody pulled up from Tyler Boyer, the former COO. He wrote this.
We do have a team. We can only do as much as police on campus will allow us, and also working with the police or private security in a given venue. We run everything like a military op. All of our people are from that background. Now, I didn't hear her talk about what was said in the cease and desist, but she said this guy, she had information from people that he was hitting on interns and he was having love affairs with dudes. This is a married Christian man who was second in command to Charlie, and apparently he was, gaying it up with dudes at the Turning Point USGay, and then he hired all these people that I talk about being twinks and whatever, that they are, there seems to be something going on there. Like these Christian guys who seem like they're gay, right? That seem like they're not heterosexual Christians, but gay dudes. So I don't know. Let's move forward here. That's a weird tweet, right? And so I don't know why he would tweet that, because it's on September 18th to September 18th, 25. This is long after the whole whatever it is. Charlie was killed, so that's not good. Like, why do that? Like, just like just feeding Candace info, and it's become like a toilet bowl. This TPUSGAY has become like a toilet bowl. All right, so let's see what she says. Let's go move forward here a little bit.
Is that one person got brought into an office by Andrew Colvett and was told that the CMO got into an Uber car and asked, just striking up some conversation with the Uber driver. I was like, what do you think about Turning Point USA and the Charlie Kirk thing? And he starts saying, oh, well, I actually have a daughter who knows somebody that works Turning Point USA, and maybe she doesn't like the stuff that's going on at the company. So an Uber driver was making small chat with an executive at Turning Point USA and said his daughter knew someone, and that person had potentially said something that he didn't really love. She didn't really love Erika at the helm. Anyways, Andrew Colvett hauls this person into the office and starts asking about this Uber conversation. And of course, the employee was like, I literally have no idea what you're talking about, and says that it was completely untrue, almost like they had fictionalized it entirely for some other reason, for some other unknown reason. Anyway, another person who had worked there gets hauled into the office by the general counsel, thinks that they are being brought in because they're going to get a raise or a bonus because apparently, which makes perfect sense, things have been insane, obviously. They are all really have been working nonstop. Think about
It's amazing they're making all this money with no views. Like it's become, I mean, the only explanation for that would be a money laundering type situation. Like, it's definitely not as good. I mean, most of the people who comment say, "We miss you, Charlie. Why are you guys hijacking this show?" Like that's the overwhelming comment. People don't like the show that they're presenting. It's unwatchable, even to these people that watch Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk sucked his own his own way. So they suck way worse than he does, and I mean, his sucking was good for them. Like that's the level they're on, where Charlie Kirk was. But again, there's some video came up. Some guy was proving that Ben Shapiro was buying views based in the amount of comments and likes to his videos. Like he got 1 million views and only 1,000 comments, like stuff like this, which shows you're buying views. I showed Heartfulness. So some video came up on Facebook, or somebody sent me it. Probably somebody sent me it on Instagram. But like Charlie Kirk, when you have all this money, you can buy views and likes and subscriptions and make it look like your thing's bigger and growing, and that brings people in because they think, oh wow, this thing is taking off, right? When something is, people look at the numbers and like, look at how many people are watching this. I mean, it's amazing how sheep like people are. How many people are just follow whatever else does, whether it's trends or they don't even understand the trends. Like that stupid 6'7" thing that no one can explain that these kids, are doing. They just like people just do it without understanding any kind of stupid doing the Macarena dance or whatever it is, right? It's like everyone's doing it, so let's do it. Why are we doing it? I don't know. Don't ask questions, dummy. Like don't wonder why we're doing something. Like I always wondered why are we doing this? Why is this trend happening? Why is everyone buying Tickle Me Elmo dolls, right? It's often just manufactured corporately. When there was this I don't know if it was a book. I think it was a book on Amazon. And back when I was looking into this stuff about mind control and all these things. And it was about marketing. And what they were trying to do was they wanted to market to inborn, to fetuses, to babies in utero, by giving their moms like certain chocolates and certain things that the baby would experience in utero, right? Like this book was about how they marketed to kids. And one of the things that they used to do, before the internet, was that they would find the cool kids in various towns around the country, places like affluent suburbs, and they would give these kids the toys and, toys to play with and things, and they'd bring it to school and show their friends, and they would create this grassroots buzz, right? So they had all these ways they'd market to kids, right? All these kinds of things. And, kids would just follow along what other kids were doing. And they had all these strategies. I mean, even in utero, like it's that fucked up. Okay, so I guess this is part of the thing here.
one big family. We're one big family. We're one big family. But then actually a lot of the employees feel that that's just a public presentation. That Erika doesn't.
Of course it is. Like, can you not tell this thing is fake as fuck, right?
Even know their names. That only a handful of people even have access to her. And so it doesn't feel like the same company. I think that's a reasonable thing. Anyways, fired. Goodbye. Within the same day, maybe the next day, I actually am not completely sure, another person gets hauled in, thinks that she's getting a raise, and actually they just tell her that she's fired. That she's fired. It's like thinking, I crushed it at AmFest. I am definitely about to get a raise. This company is flush with cash. Actually, you're fired. And so she asks the attorney, why am I being fired? And the attorney just says, we're going in a different direction. You don't get to have an explanation. Security is outside, leave. And so at this point, the employee hits record on their phone because they don't understand what's happening. And thankfully they did. So you can now listen to the, I guess, not excuse. There's nothing really to listen to other than her not being able to get an answer of what she did wrong. And I'm making this very clear to you. I am not kidding. I promise you on everything. I had never in my life communicated. I mean, maybe I saw her in an event. I don't know. I shouldn't say never in my life. I maybe was backstage. I never spoke to this employee once, never anything at all. Period. Not one of my sources, nothing. So this can't be related to me. I don't think it's related to me. But let's take a listen anyways, because they're all convinced they're just paranoid and firing a bunch of people. Take a listen.
I mean, Frank, this is kind of wild.
I understand where you're coming from.
I know, and I know best to be here, and
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not really content leaving for the day without further documentation, explanation, anything.
I understand, but it's time to go. We're just gonna say today's the last day, and that's what we're gonna operate from.
And there's nothing else y'all are going to offer me or plan to offer me. No, I'll send you an email about off-board instructions that essentially outlines rates to teach it. So it sounds report, and then detailing the pay and sit out.
And
Okay, so Erika, Kirk, and I could go back and find this, but I think we're beyond that kind of shit because, she said, we're not firing anybody. Like, she went on the show with Andrew Colvett and all these people. I guess I could find it because it's probably pretty easy. I'll do that because it's not that hard. But she went on the show with Blake Neff and Andrew Colvett, and this is like maybe a week or two after, and she says, we're not going to fire one person. We're going to keep everybody. And now they're purging people. When you're losing, hammering viewers, like you have, you're an influence, you have influence. Like this is what they're known for. Like their ability to get people to buy products, their ability to move, in a political direction or whatever, fill seats and sell merch and endorse certain, like get support for Israel, for example, or some things, ideas, and get people on board. So, they're being paid to buy influence. And now they have no influence. Like so much so, I showed you their channel wasn't even running ads on their YouTube channel. The last 6 videos they put up didn't start off with an ad. So that's not good. They're not even getting advertisers for their, the advertisers are probably advertising per results, like, some kind of clicks or whatever it is that they're getting, like whatever they're paying them to advertise on YouTube, like these ads that run before the video. And I mean, I can't believe that they're paying a set rate. Like how many people watch the video? Let's say if they're advertising for Angel Studios. Angel Studios makes movies and TV products, I think mostly movies, that are Christian oriented, like badge stuff and, things that are right wing, patriotic, this fake patriotic bullshit that the right wing people buy into. They have a thing coming out with King David as a kid, and it's a cartoon. David the foreskin taker, right? The guy who collects foreskins for a dowry or for to win his the king's wife, the king's daughter. And so they don't have like a promo code. You see these ads that are on YouTube where there's a promo code. Like type in Candace and get 15% off your first purchase, like this kind of thing. And that's a way where they show you get so much money per customer that you bring into them, right? Like these ways, like people who click on ads on YouTube, the ones that run ads on YouTube. But then there's something like Angel Studios that just wants to get out there in front of these people to go check out their stuff. And, maybe there's a link to click through which they can use to get extra money, but it's about how many views. Like if the 100,000 people see your ad, then you have to pay this amount of money, right? Based on how many people are watching the videos. And when you only get 5,000 views, you're supporting a company. Like that's not influence at all. But, you can still run ads there and just say, all right, it's just we're paying less money per ad, right? Because it's less viewers and there's less clicks, there's less whatever it is, whatever way they have calculating how much they owe Turning Point. But now they're probably like, we don't even want to be associated with you guys. There's all this shade that's being thrown your way by all these people. You're toxic right now. Let's not run ads. So there's no ads running on their channels right now, which means something, right? Like that's something. That's not good, So, I mean, and even if the ads were running, they're not making enough money because nobody likes them. And so this is now they're still getting all this money according to Candace, $250 million in the past year. they're making way more money without Charlie Kirk. How is that possible?
You will receive your year-end bonus from your performance for the year, so that will be in that paycheck too.
Okay. So, I mean,
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming
No,
from.
and I know you're going to keep saying I understand. Like, I know that.
No, I know.
And I know there's probably no magic string of words that I could piece together to procure some type of answer. But
Yeah.
I think on a surface level, like, I'm not going to walk out of here until I say my piece. Like, I mean, y'all know this. I just worked a series of 80, 90-hour weeks plus for AmFest.
Yeah, I think
I've
it's
had no direction or explanation since we've come back. Our CEO has been assassinated. I've done nothing but bend over backwards for this organization, to the point where I'm wondering if this is a prank.
it's not a prank. I would never do that.
So I'm just trying to understand. And
No, I understand. It's time to.
so do
it's
I
time
get to have a conversation with Dylan? Do I get to have a conversation with Justin or anybody? Or
Nope.
no? And there's no explanation as to why I'm going to let go, despite
Right now, we're leaving all.
and you're going to keep saying a different direction. But I'm trying to understand how I've met multiple times with my.
We're going a different direction with the team, and I have to ask you to leave now.
You have to ask me to leave property.
Yes,
Due to what, Frank?
because we're asking you to leave because you've been terminated and we're not.
But there's no explanation or documentation for this. I've never had one bad review from Dylan. I've never had one issue with the company. I've never done anything unethical. And so I'm sitting here understanding why my entire livelihood is being completely tossed out. I mean, I sat
No,
in
you're,
this chair.
you're gonna do great things.
No, and I
Take your
plan
livelihood.
to.
You're gonna do great. You're gonna do great things. You're a wonderful person, but not for us because you suck for us, but for everyone else, you're great.
I don't think your livelihood's being tossed out. I think you're
Well-
very successful.
Well, my paycheck every other week is being tossed out, Frank, with absolutely no warning whatsoever.
I understand. At this time, it's time for you to.
It's time for me to go. Why? Like this is the
because
treatment that Turning Point is offering now.
It's time to go.
Frank, this is crazy.
Yeah. I understand where you're coming from.
I don't think you do. This feels very heartless. This feels without emotion.
I do understand where you're coming
This feels completely without emotion.
You know, so I mean, this is bad. Are they purposely destroying this fucking thing? Like, what's happening? You know, I mean, like, holy shit! Like, this is so fucking bad. Like this whole suing Erika Kirk, suing Candace Owens, and you know, this stuff, free speech and over money and whatever it is. They're hemorrhaging money because they've lost the market share because she's hammering the shit out of them. And then they fired these employees that Candace Owens says has nothing to do with her. It may or may not be true, but to the rest of us, that's what it, you know, that's all we have to go on. And so, like, can you fucking run a company faster into a ground, right? You have this fake grieving widow who nobody fucking likes, does weird fucking shit, and she implodes. You put up a couple of twinks and these, you know, these gay semen guys who are, you know, unlikable, and they start just covering things and ignore the direction Charlie was taking the company. There's financial impropriety, you know, that's going on, according to all these people, and they're raking in money for no reason because there's no influence, and their content sucks, and everyone like hates them now. I mean, the company is like, and I didn't even know anything about this before, so I just got to it right after Charlie died. I didn't even know Turning Point was a thing. Like, I didn't know anything about it. And so, you know, and it's just whatever it was, and all these famous people roll out, and you get this Medal of Honor from Trump, and then the weird thing, you know, unbelievable assassination, and then they go full, you know, we're not truthers at all. We believe the official story at every capacity. And then they run out really shitty content, and now they're firing fucking people left and right. I'll show you the Erika thing where she said she wasn't going to fire anybody. And she's like, no one knew her. She was at home with the kids. She was barely ever there. She wasn't a part of the operations. So she's basically someone who, you know, she was with Charlie, whatever capacity that was, whether that was a real marriage, whether Charlie was actually gay, whatever the thing is, right? I mean, Charlie was a piece of shit, right? He was, you know, like he was just Charlie Shekels. He took all these shekels to do all that stuff. And so, you know, but like this is way worse. And she wasn't like second in command, vice president. She ran the company. Like she's coming in with, you know, only superficial knowledge I mean, how many people can take over their spouse's jobs, right?
This is still very fun, but at this time, I have to ask you.
Frank, I'm really not content doing that.
Okay.
Because I know
Fucking Frank, man. Fucking Frank. It's always fucking Frank.
that when I leave there, my credentials not going to get back in, and I'm never going to have the opportunity to speak with somebody at this company as to why I'm being terminated after never having my performance questioned, after never doing anything wrong, after working tirelessly through the death of Charlie. This is wild. And you can, like, that's completely unsatisfactory. And so I have to go home tonight with...
It's pretty Christian, though. You know, like Old Testament Christian. This is how the Old Testament Christians roll.
No blame, no understanding, asking for clarity multiple weeks in a row. And I'm confused. I sat in your office when that whole GC situation happened. And you said, and I quote, that if you don't get that job, I'm going to personally think that you got screwed over. And now I'm sitting here and I'm getting screwed over in a completely different capacity with no explanation.
Yep, I understand where you're coming from. But at this time,
So there's going to be absolutely no explanation as to why I'm terminated. So when I go to my next job, I can't explain as to why this chapter is closed.
we're going in a different direction.
That's not an explanation, Frank.
It's the
But it is. They're going in a different direction. You're one direction, and we're going in another direction. Like you're going in this direction, out the fucking door with security, and we're going in this direction, shilling for Israel, and not being influencers anymore and laundering money, and you know. So that's like two different directions, right? Like you're going this way and we're going that way. You're getting the fuck out of here. And we're going to stay right here. We're like here and you're actually the one going in a different direction. You're like not going to drive here anymore and come into here, this building every day and do your job. You're going to go do something else. Like that's this location is no longer your destination on a daily basis.
information we're providing now
Providing from who?
from the organization.
From who, though? Justin? From Dylan?
From the organization. I only speak for the organization. I don't,
So different direction means what? Losing people that bend over backwards for the organization, losing people that would be willing to do anything for the organization, losing people that haven't done anything wrong. Like,
I understand what you're saying.
I understand it. I understand this is this kind of code speak, you know, like not agreeing. Like, oh, well, I hear you, right? You know, not reflective listening and repeat back what you're saying. But he's got one goal. You're getting the fuck out of here. You don't have to go home. You just can't fucking stay here, bitch.
Take on it, but right now it's time for you to go. And so,
Like, how would you file a lawsuit against Candace Owens and then fire a bunch of people and then fucking have this video be out, right? Like, you know, everyone's going to see this shit. Like, Turning Point, like, people don't like Erika. I mean, they don't like her, and they don't like the guys who are running the show. So, like, you don't have a face of the company. Like, you know, your whole Ben Shapiro thing, and that thing fucking blew up with him paying $1 million to speak at Turning Point and criticize all these people. You know, the people that they like are Candace and Tucker. And so, and to have it go in the other direction. And so they don't have anybody that's, you need an influencer. Who's their influencer? Like, who can influence these people that are coming to watch them and bring them in a certain direction? Like, and how are they making all this money when there's no influence, when there's no product, when there's no leverage, right? They're selling their influence over people that, you know, that's when Charlie was there, and now they don't have any. And even if Charlie was there, you know, his over the top support for Israel and the right wing, these right wing Christian people that like these Turning Point chapters, like they had some of these guys on saying that all of college campuses are against Israel now, and Trump is imploding with the Epstein files, and your support. So like your two biggest things of Israel and Trump have backfired, and then you have this like unlikable bitch at the top, right? Like fucking. Nobody fucking wants to see, you know, all this stuff. That they're just digging up more and more dirt and inconsistencies in her story. That, like, nobody is, you know, already she doesn't have a fan base. And so, and then you got this video leaking. Like this really bad firing. And, you know, no one's going to be on Turning Point's side here. They're already bailing on you. Like, you know, they're just running the company into the ground almost like purposely.
in the time to say one piece, and now it's time for you to go. So,
like how? Okay. Well, this is.
I honestly can't even imagine this at all. 80 to 90 hour weeks. Your CEO just got publicly assassinated and you've not stopped working since. You think you're going.
Okay, so it's bad. And I'm sure people are going to be showing up on Turning Point. Like how do they not know that this video's out there? Like she's recording this motherfucker. No, you just got to leave. We're going in a different direction. Okay, so there's an ad at the beginning of this video, so they got ads back on. But for 6 videos yesterday, they didn't have it, and I didn't go back farther than that. President Trump calls Europe's blessed Davos, and he's right. He imploded. He was a fucking ass clown in a way that we've never seen before. He's lost his shit, and he's like a mad king, like I said, like the fucking whatever. So this is their video. It got 7,000 views, and this is the first comment. What different direction are you guys going in? Like you said when you fired your employee. So that's the first comment. Like that's the most relevant comment, right? R.I.P. Charlie. What a shame what this organization has become. Fucking sad. So they got 7,000 views. These are the comments. These people are saying R.I.P. Charlie Kirk. I can guarantee 100% they're deleting anti-Trump people in the comments. And so apparently they're bashing Trump as well here, right? Like they're totally fucked. TPUSGay was promised to the chosen ones 3,000 years ago. Beavis and Butthead, right? The 2 guys running the show. You're not Charlie Kirk. Stop using his name. It'd be nice to have this kind of money to spend on yourself. Leave Candace alone. Is Baldy Stephen Miller's twin? The Baldy is the Twink 1 or Twink 2. The amount of views and likes you get is quite laughable. Hi, Toilet Paper USA. We call for the results of the Dodge effort that Charlie asked for before he was murdered, especially since we know how many millions of dollars you took in since his assassination. I'm so sorry that Charlie trusted a bunch of snakes. We see your true colors. We are looking at you, Andrew Judas Colvet. We miss you, Charlie. R.I.P. Now, again, when you realize that Charlie Kirk was shackled up, this becomes pointless. But not these people. They love Charlie, or they think they love Charlie, and they love the idea of Turning Point. Now, Turning Point has always been sucky. Charlie was taking money from Israel to betray his, the American people, betray his religion, betray his country. I mean, this is, he was a real Judas. Like he was when you sell yourself out to a foreign country, betray these college kids, he was going out there, mansplain to them and all the things. But, not to these people. They thought it was something great. And now they look like they killed him. Like all the stuff that they're doing, they look shadier and shadier. The greedy, rich, corrupt people stick together, don't they, Andrew? You know about that with all those dodgy pastors. Dodgy. Just saw the video of you all firing an employee with no explanation. Charlie would be so disappointed. She worked 80 or 90-hour weeks and contributed to $250 million being brought in. You are all pathetic. Erika's a fake actress, and his life was the Truman Show. Like, this is so fucking bad because they watched Candace's video, and then they come show up here, and they get 7,000 views. And from all the comments, there's not one person who's agreeing with the video. One person says you're deleting Trump comments, which, we don't know if that's true or not because they've left these comments up. Honestly, I don't know why I'm still subscribed after Charlie. None of these people want any part of this fucking thing that they're doing. It's either pro-Charlie or anti-TPUSGay. When will they turn off the comments? Maybe getting close. What do you think, Candace? Toilet Paper USA. AI slop. Silver and gold appear to be in a bubble. Get your own show. How dare you piggyback over Charlie and his name? I'm unfollowing out of respect for Charlie. You will never be Charlie. This is so boring. Bring back Charlie. Then there's one person with thumbs up, but I'm not sure what this middle emoji is, so I'm not sure if this is a positive or negative. Why'd you all kill Charlie? Okay, so this is where Erika Kirk should show up here, and she says this.
Know if we've got a show. We don't know what but we committed to the staff. We're going to keep you. We're going to keep you, and you committed to him
I
very
did.
clearly. Maybe say something.
I
about
said,
that.
you're not going anywhere. You can choose to leave. Any of you can choose to leave, but you are a part of the Charlie Kirk family, Charlie Kirk Show family, and we need you. Each one of you serves a purpose and a role.
So this is where having a good memory. I mean, it's, advantage for my show here, but it's not like, why do I need to have this in my memory, right? Like, I remembered seeing this, and I knew it wasn't going to last, so my son used to be into this, like, developing this memory, and I guess they call it like a memory fortress or a memory mansion or a memory castle or something like that. Memory fortress, I don't know. And we would say, put that in your memory outhouse, like we would tease him. But, like I remembered this. And I remember now thinking, yeah, when do they start laying people off? Because you could see their show was already going to suck. Like, it wasn't going to be the same. They weren't going to, and, also that you push your chips in on Israel, you take your chips and you push them in the middle of the table, and you bet on Israel, and you bet on Trump. And Trump is a complete failure. The Epstein files, all that stuff was happening at this time when Charlie Kirk was killed, allegedly, right? Whatever happened with him. And so they bet on Israel and Trump, and both those things were crapping out. And so their investment was, their credibility was their chips in the middle of the table. So there's going to be, these issues. And, of course, them going with the official story, them possibly being involved, they're looking guilty as fuck, and then the rise of Candace Owens, bullshit. I mean, she's even losing viewers. Like, now it's like nobody cares anymore. Like, TPUSGay is a ghost town. Candace has lost her credibility, and the story is just fading. Like, people just don't care about it. It's reached that point where it's like, all right, nothing's going to happen. Candace is off in fucking weird land shit, talking about JFK assassination one day, after going all in on this Mitch guy, and then just leaving it all behind, and now focusing on going directly after Erika, which was, whatever, which was what people wanted 3 months ago. And now that's all faded. Erika has disappeared, not doing any more interviews. And they're laying people off, right?
And again, if the enemy tries to come in and divide, you'll be able to see that very clearly. But we will all remain a united front, and the
So does the enemy Candace?
show will continue.
I mean, a little behind the scenes here. Erika did that speech where I'm standing right now on the podium, somehow got through that, her national address. Then she walks out there to where all of our staff are, and she then goes on to do another speech to all the staff, telling them, you're not going anywhere. We're keeping the lights on. We're doing everything. Yeah. I mean, watching that, I was blown away.
He was blown away. Just like he was blown a gay. Look at these twigs, right?
Inspired.
Two
We
back to
knew
back.
that Charlie chose well, Erika.
Yeah.
And you chose well.
Yeah.
You both
Yeah.
chose well. And
You both chose well. He chose well with you. You chose well with him. Like, he didn't choose as well with you because you ended up killing him and taking his job. But other than that, he chose pretty well. And you certainly chose well because now now you're head of this company. There's this comedian out there. Many people have sent it. And he goes through all the stuff with Erika Kirk that they his whole bit is that she goes to interview for a job. Charlie says, let's date instead. She marries him. And now she never really worked for TPUSGay. And now she's the CEO. And he talked about this stuff, and she was something about there's a joke about her. Don't go on my podcast, whatever it is. Like, if I have a podcast, wait at least 3 months or whatever it is before you do the take by whatever. There's some other jokes there. I can't remember. You guys have probably seen it. But, this was all like, this is what's happened, right? It's come full circle now, and they're just firing people randomly after bringing in records amount of money for a company that has no influence, and it's an influence company. And so it looks shady as shit. It looks like money laundering, all these things. And you have to have fans, and you have to have people that believe in you. This is a faith, fan-based business that they're in, and they don't have it. They don't have fans. They don't have people that like them. They don't have, how many, like I said before, how many people could do their spouse's job? Like how many people, like husbands, like they lose their wife and they got to come home and if the wife is a stay-at-home mom and figure out what she did, and there's all these things they had no idea about, right? Like there's things that your spouse does, there's things that your coworkers do that you don't even know. You're with them and you don't even know what they're doing, right? You can't just go jump over and do your coworker's job if you're not doing the same job, right, as some other part of the company. Like this is why we're a society that's specialized, and each person does a specialized task, and often doesn't know any of the other things that go into. It's what makes the companies the business run. And so, how is she going to come in here? Doesn't really know the employees, isn't there regularly, right? She's not really all that much of a part of this thing, and she doesn't have a job there, and all of a sudden take over, and then be as unlikable as you could possibly be, and just off-putting. And so this
the world is seeing your love affair in a new way. So final seconds to you.
I just am very proud of all of you. I'm grateful for all of you. I'm grateful for the audience, and I'm really looking forward to how this show is going to continue to be blessed and continue to be a voice for all of Charlie's causes.
You can hide all this shit now. I just realized I got a hide button, which thank God.
And continue to just empower and enhance the legacy of my...
Okay, so none of those things happen. You guys have imploded. The show's a mess. You have no fans. Everyone fucking hates you. Like fucking... And you're firing people. So like it's just... But somehow you're rolling in the fucking money, right? You're bringing in the money, so... Count the money. All right, so Count D. Monet.
Husband, and I'm just so grateful.
Okay, so that video got 2.4 million views 3 months ago, the one Erika Kirk was on. So this is, you can see the fall off where they're getting 7,000 views and every comment is negative. Like every comment's like, fuck you guys. And so that's bad. Like they've lost their business. It's imploding. Like 2.4 million people were interested in what Erika Kirk had to say. And now Candace Owens' audience is cut in half. Like she was doing great. And like this thing is just, after a while, people just lose interest. I've covered things like this before. I made like 10 videos about Michael Jackson. I made, 10, 12, 15 videos about Prince dying, these kind of things, where people are really interested in it. So I keep on cranking out the material. I made 15 videos about Full House over a period of like a year, that Full House show. And just all these things started to come up and people would, I was trying to get out of it, right? I've lost interest in it. I never really had interest in the first place, right? Like I don't care about these things. I enjoy mocking stuff. I enjoy the stuff that I do. But I could do that with anything. And, after a while, it's just like I want to move on to something else. Like I've had bits that I do that I enjoy, and then they just fade away. And then maybe they come back around, and, I got all these memes that are great memes that I never use anymore. I used to use them more. I've changed the way I edit my videos, so that's part of it. But, it's just, you have to keep things fresh just to, there's got to be energy in it. And so there's a point where I knew Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit when I first saw him. He was talking about Jeffrey Epstein's possible connection to Mossad, which I agree with. I've talked about this before. But I could tell this guy was not religious or spiritual. He wasn't, truly anything that they were saying he was. And it came out over time why that was. I didn't understand it then. I didn't know how much money was taken from Israel, hundreds of millions of dollars. I didn't know what a piece of shit shill he was for Trump. But it was no great loss. Like, he was a bad guy. He was a bad actor. He was Charlie Shekels. And his wife was a complete disaster, and Candace is annoying. And there's nothing here. TPUSGAY was never great. It never did anything good. It got Trump elected, and it helped and promoted a genocide in Gaza Strip and just a bunch of other bullshit Republican policies. And there's always been drama behind the scenes, and all these people are big ego people. They're not there for God. They're there for their egos and their money and their stuff. I mean, it's a money-making organization. They love success, and the government probably more or less has infiltrated the organization some way. She's probably a CIA asset, perhaps. Erika J. Kirk, Candace Owens as well. I mean, they're all part of this whole thing. And the drama, going back to the Old Testament, and I have a great comment to read about Hinduism. Not great, great that I get to shit on the person, but, and I'll get to that in a moment. But, the way your people are is, the fact that our country or the people who watch content love drama. Like, look at all these Desperate Housewives, Real Housewives shows, the Kardashian shows, the soap operas. I mean, more and more, every fucking action movie has drama in it. I started watching Monarch Island, this Monarch company. It's an Apple show about Godzilla and these monsters. Like they've started to make these monster movies again. They made King Kong and Skull Island, and there's a funny bit. There's a meme I had from there. If I still have it, I'll play it at the end of this audio if I can remember. And but if I don't have it, it's fine. It's just whatever. It has nothing to do with any of these things. But me and my kids went to some of the movies. When my kids and I were going to movies in India and these things, when they started to reboot Godzilla and these other things, right? And they created a less successful franchise and universe than Marvel or Jurassic Park, but like these universe that they create, right? And I watched monster movies when I was a kid. I really enjoyed them. I went to Godzilla versus the Smog Monster with my dad when I was a kid, right? I enjoyed these monster movies. I'm not into horror, but monster movies are something different, so it's because they're not really scary. And, there's this whole thing with Japan, and it's depressed there because they're just waiting for the big earthquake they have these paper houses, and they do incredibly elegant work there. There was a show my family used to watch on PBS, and it's this guy he does woodworking. I don't know what the name of the show is, but it's like, I was doing some of these things, and I wanted to learn about them. And he had this, he showed you how to use and make old-time tools, things that you'd operate by using your foot to pedal a lathe, like a lathe that wasn't electric power, a lathe that used to carve wood. And he had this thing like I don't remember the name of it, but it's something that you use so that you can lock a piece of wood in and use a drag knife. What is it called? I can't remember the thing. But it's the knife that has two handles on it. Again, I could look it up. A draw knife. And you pull the knife towards you, and I was making poles. Like I made a rake that I used to rake hay out of it, and I split the wood, and I made the handle. And I used this draw knife, and I used this this kind of horse that you used to lock down. I went to a living history museum. But anyways, we used to watch this show. And he had a Japanese woodworker on, and their tools, in terms of their, you have these like chisels and things, were so refined. It was down to like millimeters. The guy was like amazed at how precise the woodworking was there. Of course, they have these very fine paper houses. My parents, when I was a kid, I was entering high school, we went to look at a house by a lake, and the thing had flooded like 4 different times. Like the house was underwater. It was right on the lake. And it was cheap for that reason. And my parents were into it. My mom liked it, but, we knew it wasn't like, whatever. My parents made a good decision by not moving to a house that floods regularly. But anyways, the house was like so refined. It was in Japanese style. And the doors, you push them and they pop open. I mean, it was really like elegant, but very, they have these paper houses there because the earthquakes are a real problem. And they all live with this sense of depression. You can see it in their animation and some of these things. Like the end is nigh. At some point, Japan is fucked because of they're in like this ring of fire, and we saw what happened with Fukushima. And so they have this stuff, and these monster movies are a part of that. And so, I'd seen these monster movies, and I started watching this thing. I ignored it at first. It has Kurt Russell, who's always funny. He's a kind of an asshole, but he's. And I started watching the show, and they were coming out with a second season, so I thought it'd have to be good, and it's all drama. You know, at the fourth episode, one of the main characters, there's a guy, and I'm spoiler the whole thing because it's not worth watching, but there's a guy who, there's a couple, you know, and everything's like now is interracial or ethnicity kind of, or lesbian, you know, like this is all these relationships. So there's a love triangle between a Japanese doctor and a soldier who ends up being Kurt Russell, and a guy who's sort of a scientific type of naval officer. And she ends up marrying the naval officer. They create this thing called Monarch, which is the study of these monsters. And they weave these two storylines together, one from the 1950s and one from 2015-16, right? And it's incorporated this universe that they've already created with these other monster movies, right? And they have a son, and the son has a wife in America and a wife in Japan. And he disappears, and his daughter shows up at the other family, and then they start diving into his shit, and they realize he was this monster guy. And Monarch, this has become this evil corporation that his parents had created, their grandparents, and they are, and they get involved, and then the monsters show up, but the monsters don't really ever show up. It's just drama. And there's an African American girl who is in Japan, and she's dating the Japanese other, the guy's son, the grandson of the couple, or they have just broken up, and she's an expert scientist, but she has a fucking checkered past that they're going to explore. They have all these relationships, and then it turns out that the girl, the daughter, the siblings, these two half siblings, she's a lesbian, right? Like they don't drop that until the fourth episode. And there hasn't been any fucking monsters, right? Like Godzilla shows up like 3 times in the show, and barely gets any screen time. Like Godzilla, like he was like Godzilla does cameos, and it's all drama and relationships and depression and people with their monologues. I'm like, why the fuck am I watching this thing? There's no monsters in it, and I'm only mildly interested in the monsters, right? And so I fast forward through the episodes, stopping just to get like plot lines, and I go to the end of it, and the whole thing is they've been keeping the secret that there's an underground, like a hollow earth, which they already established in King Kong versus Godzilla. So they dropped this reveal after like 10 episodes that there's this place where you go, this underground earth where all the monsters live, which of course there is, because the monsters are coming up from the fucking like everyone kind of knew they had to be living somewhere, because they don't, they're not just hiding out. They're these giant monsters that do fucking all this destruction. And so they get trapped there at the end for a little bit. And I'm like, oh my God, there was no monsters in this fucking thing. Just drama. Like, it's a monster movie the monsters are the star of the show. But the big reveal is something they've already revealed in a movie. And so it's like, what the fuck are you guys dragging people through, right? And you got a second fucking season? Like, how is that possible? But it's all the drama and all the fucking, all the bullshit they're pushing, right? And so we're a very dramatic people. We love drama. We love violence, and sex and violence are a big part of movies and TV shows, but drama is dominating, right? And this is what you see with TPUSGAY. And it's very specific to the Judeo-Christian Muslim religions that all come from this period of this place, because there's so much drama in the peoples that are there. These are very dramatic people. And so as a counterpoint, let me read this comment to better illustrate what I'm talking about. Okay, just got to pull it up here and make it bigger. Candace Melania Shill Nightmare Trump is 5-star alarm. You still think libs are the problem. And so I mentioned stuff to do with the conflict between the post British withdrawal in India and the conflict between the Muslims and the Hindus. And this person writes, India is a Hindu majority country where the nationalist Hindus pose a threat to every religious minority. They routinely routinely wage violence on Muslims, Sikhs, and Christians alike. In a Canadian school, a mob of Hindu and Sikh students rioted against each other several years ago. Your assertion that the Hindus get along with everyone while the Muslims are a problem is totally erroneous and naive. I'm totally naive and erroneous. My opinion's erroneous and also naive. Also typical of your bias against Muslims whose history you don't fully grasp. You frame Europeans as chill despite their ongoing aggression while incessantly framing Muslims negatively. History is not your strong suit at all, and in any case, perhaps you don't keep up with Indian political life. Least we forget that it is Hindu nationalists that killed Gandhi. This is also the situation in Kashmir, where the Hindu government harshly presides over a Muslim population. One need only to listen to the President Modi to clear out openly bigoted they are to Muslims specifically. Israel is very active in India, and the Hindu majority is heavily propagandized by Israeli propaganda. Okay, so none of these things that this person's saying about my opinion are true, right? So if you guys have heard what I've talked about in terms of, I said the Europeans are chill now. Obviously, the colonization and the war and, the British owning, there's a time where they used to say the sun never sets on the British Empire because they had gone into Africa and Australia and America and all these islands. And Britain owned like almost the whole world and was fucking around with other countries. So the British Empire was massive for a very small country, in terms of its population, its people, and all the colonization. And then, of course, all that shit fell apart because empires collapsed. But I was never saying that, I was talking about how the Vikings were totally kick-ass. Everyone was scared of the Vikings, right? The Vikings were giants, and they went in and they decimated Europe, and now they're completely, like these Danish people and all these people are very, much more pacified. And they're tired of war. Like they grew out of their warlike phase and just said, all right, we'll outsource it to America. Because they, people stop wanting to fight wars when they have so much material success. So that's an inaccurate description of what I was saying. And one of the reasons I knew heartfulness had fallen apart, that had the meditation that I do, Sajmark System, became this holding organization, is one of my viewers sent me a video of heartfulness and Daji, and they were combining with this party called, I can't remember, the RSS. And the RSS party was a pro-Hindu, anti-Muslim, political, fascist, pro-military organization. And Sajmarg, politics and spirituality do not go together. And it's very hard to have spiritual organizations and spiritual energy in a capital city, Washington, D.C., or any of the capital cities in various states. It just doesn't do well there. Spirituality doesn't do well where there's political energy. Politics and spirituality just they don't mix. Even though, religions always become political. But politics, one of the things that is predominant in the Sajmark system is that there's no prejudice, caste prejudice, because India, that's a big thing, the caste, or religious prejudice, or nationality prejudice, ethnicity and race, that everybody's a soul. And you come in and everybody has, the same goal, the same process. There's a whole thing, I have to find it, it's one in Babaji's books about, there's no sect, SECT, there's no caste, there's no race, there's no sex. Because in ancient India, women couldn't practice spirituality. Women couldn't do it. And, Sajmark system is probably 60% women, 55-60% women. Like there's more women than men. It appeals to them because of the loving nature, the nature of the transmission. And so when Daji went kind of anti-Muslim and joined an organization that was nationalistic anti-Muslim, that was one of the reasons I said, oh, this fucking thing is not what it's supposed to be. So I'm not anti-Muslim. I don't have any prejudice against Muslims. I'm certainly, in the Israel, I'm pro-Palestine in terms of the Palestinian people are obviously in some ways victims. Like, I don't believe in victimization, but they're the ones being bullied and abused. And so, I don't have any sort of prejudice against Muslims or any other group of people. But there are things that are true about every religion and every race and every country. There's stereotypes that are true. And with Muslims, the Shiite and the Sunni have had violent conflicts forever. The Shiite and Sunni Muslims hate each other. And then they have beef with the Jews, who also have beef with lots of people. Like, Zionists and Jewish people have been kicked out of all these countries. And it's not, just because of the people think they killed Jesus or whatever it is. It's behaviors that are there, right? These things are true about all these different races and religions. Christians have had fucking violent brawls with Muslims, and, they did the whole thing where they were trying to do these crusades, which was Christian, English. I mean, the Christians went to war with the Druids and the people that believed the pagans and all these people, right? They tried to erase them. I mean, with the Vikings and all these different people, they had their own religions that Christianity took over for. And so these are all violent, we're the best religion, and all of them have done shit, have stuff in their literature about being the chosen people or being the only way to get to heaven and all these reasons. And the Muslims have had problems in everywhere they go in terms of getting along with people. Not all of them, just some of them, but that's true. And so the Hindus are far from bloodless or innocent, but, there's a lot of bullshit and, things that get twisted. Of course, the caste system sucks there in India. But in terms of the people themselves, and this is what I'm talking about, the people, the religion morphs to the way the people are, and the people change because of the religion that's there. And so in India, there is passivity. When I started reading the Sajmarg literature, there was, being sensitive and soft, having a soft heart and being sensitive to other people, and was highly valued in Sajmarg and in the Indian culture, right? And then I realized, I grew up with, if you were sensitive or soft, being called soft, like in terms of being an athlete, you're supposed to fight that person, right? You got to prove that you're not soft. Being called sensitive and soft, but being hard and having a killer instinct is valued in America. We have a militaristic attitude, and, you're not supposed to be a pussy, right? And so this was, interesting for me, because I was thinking about how you take your cultural bullshit for granted. But we're a very warlike people, and we like drama, and we like individualism and individual achievement and being a superstar and being better than other people, being somebody that excels. And, you have that opportunity here where, in India, for example, it's much more community and family oriented. And people say, well, we love our family. Family is everything. But America, our families have been decimated and isn't the kind of pressure. It becomes something where it's a meshment. Because I would see these Indian people over here, and they would be, top students, some of the best minds in the country, and they'd come over to America and Europe and places and make a shit ton of money. And they're expected to raise up their whole family, like uncles and cousins, and everyone was asking them to send money back to them. They're making a lot of money here, but they were supposed to send so much money back to India. There's this enmeshment in the family. There was this French woman who was giving me sittings, doing these meditations with me. I was going through this big cleaning, and my divorce was happening, and the kids and all this stuff. I was just stressed out. And she was one of the preceptors. She lived right next to me. And she was going to these corporations. This thing didn't take. And they would start 300 people at once. And they would do interviews with the people afterwards. A lot of these were young kids working at call centers and shit. And one of the questions they would ask is, what are your goals? And the kids would say, I just want to make my parents proud. And, as a French woman, as a European person, I mean, even in America, you don't hear that kind of shit. How many kids say, I just want to make my family and my parents proud. And so this is what's emphasized there. And so it's important to understand that because, America and Europe likes bloodshed and drama and force and superstars and these kind of stories. And that's why Jesus' stories popped with the crucifixion. They wove it into this this storyline away from really what it was, because they didn't want to look like he got dominated by the Romans and the Jews and these other groups, right? That he couldn't fight back and he was powerless. Like, he was this powerful guy who could do miracles, but he let himself be sacrificed, a human sacrifice for his dad, his wonderful fucking dad who sacrificed for all of us pieces of shit on earth. Like, you guys suck so bad, all you ever could be is sinners. So I'm gonna butcher my own son, and you guys can't amount to shit. So I'm gonna butcher my own son, so you guys get into heaven. Why the fuck would he do that, right? It's just stupid stuff. And why would he want you in heaven if you didn't earn it, you didn't deserve it? Like everything else in the world, and Christians are big on people deserving things. They don't like to give out handouts and freebies and welfare, and they don't want to, Christians are really big on, pull yourself up by your fucking bootstraps, all these Republicans. But in heaven, sure, you're a piece of shit, can never earn it, but we'll give it to you because we killed my son and tortured him. So that's it. It's a bullshit story. But it's got all this drama in it. It's got betrayal, Judas, and denial, and Peter, and doubt, and Thomas, and all this stuff that went with it. And, there's a whole Mary Magdalene piece that nobody wants to talk about, right? And so, there's this drama in it, and the bloodshed. And, you go to these places, Santorini kind of stuff, or whatever they call it, stigmata, where all this blood pours out of people's eyes and their palms, and they're suffering along with Jesus, right? And so, like, this drama that's in there, and so much in the Old Testament, and with the Jewish people, and there's a lot of drama with them, a lot of victim consciousness, a lot of why does everybody hate us kind of stuff. And so each of these cultures have that in it. And then their religions reflect that, because it's what appeals to the people. Like, people who are Christian like war movies. They like war movies, and they like, a hero that gets the shit kicked out of them, these things, and these other aspects to it. They like, drama, and they like, the sex, even though sex is taboo, and all this stuff, and, makes it, more appealing when you make something taboo and you don't let people, you deny people something. And so, the violence that we have and all this rhetoric and the drama is woven into our religion, and then organizations like TPUSGAY and all the political parties, and also all the selfishness, right? There's a lot of selfishness in America, individual achievement, being great, rising above the riffraff and becoming rich and famous. This is all that's the American dream, to be better, through any kind of process, to be a superstar, these kind of things. Where these other cultures are more communal. And there's real issues with it, like the enmeshment. I see the problems when I was in India with this other culture. But they don't reward people for being aggressive. They have their war heroes. This RSS I was talking about, they did these training videos, and they had like 10,000 of these, like, paramilitary soldiers that aren't governmental soldiers. And they have these sticks, like they staffs. And these guys are skinny little, a lot of these people are just very wimpy. They eat, they're vegetarian. A lot of them have malnutrition. They're smaller, than the average American. You go to India, there's a lot of people that are just like 4 feet tall, living in some hut. And, eating a vegetarian diet helps you be less aggressive. This policy of ahimsa, nonviolence, right? There's people in India that wear masks so they don't breathe in microorganisms and kill them in their bodies. The microorganisms die on the masks. They don't want to breathe in any living creature and kill it, because they're pushing for this ahimsa, this nonviolence. That's some extreme level of stuff that's there. And they have a military, they have nuclear weapons, but, you see their military and you see the people there, and even the cops, they all have mustaches, and, they're not scary like, they're scary for there, but they're not scary like the kind of fucking scary people we have in America. We have real fucking brutes. We have big ass fucking strong ass, aggressive ass people. And that's just the women. So, I just thought of that. But, America is a very violent, scary. Trump himself, if you ever see The Apprentice, he would bring people into the boardroom, and they would have these bitch fights. And even if the person didn't deserve to be fired, if they didn't win the fight, and it's whoever yelled louder and got more aggressive and got more name calling, and he'd be like, "Oh, she's killing you right now." Trump would reward people for being just absolute immature pieces of shit, right? And and so I mean, the way that the people in India are, their diet, the vegetarian diet, when you eat meat, you get more aggressive. And your brain develops, you get more clever, and you have, oftentimes you're smarter and things like this because of the protein and things. If you look at predatory animals, and they have, oftentimes they're smarter, they're more active, they have more of a territorial type of things where the vegetarian type animals are more passive, these things. But, you see the people there in India and their religion and all of it, they're not very aggressive, right? I thought of this story the other night. So there was this couple, and the woman was a doctor, and the guy was in the military. And both families, they started doing the meditation, and Master Charji arranged their marriage. And both families, like they didn't do the traditional arranged marriages, and Charji paid no attention to caste or where the people lived. And so the two families both had access to guns, and it's really hard to get a gun in India. They don't have Second Amendment type of things. Their guns are, they don't have the military industrial complex, and, people are very scared of guns there. It's a whole cultural thing. That's what I'm talking about. So, in terms of this person's bullshit comment, yeah, Hindus are prejudiced against each other, and they have caste prejudice, and they don't have like the Muslim people. The Muslim people, for the most part, ate meat, and they lived in the northern part of India, where they were being invaded by the Huns, these guys, Genghis Khan, whatever his name is pronounced. I've heard pronounced like 12 different ways. Genghis Khan and the Aryans and these groups that would come in and invade. And the Muslims and the Sikhs end up being bigger and more warrior-oriented. They were lighter skinned because they were, intermarrying with white, Caucasian and light-skinned people. And, they're big. They're like physically big. You can see the Bollywood is these types of people. They're more like, performative. Most of the movies come out of these regions up north, Mumbai, which used to be Bombay, and New Delhi, and these places. And they had to fight off the invaders. So they were more warlike, and they, like I said, they eat meat. And this, one of the two masters, the first two masters came for that region. And Sufi people had an influence on the Sajmark system, but it's not a religious system. It's something new. It's like a totally new thing that takes into account all these things. Master Charji went to a Christian school, and he read the Bible, multiple times, and he knew about Christianity, and he quoted the Bible. He talked about Jesus. He was St. Paul in a previous life. He was also a disciple of Patanjali. Babaji was Patanjali. So these people, Master Charji had a life as a Native American and felt, attachment towards America. So there's all these things, right? And he gave a speech towards the end of his life, which, was like played like 2 weeks before he died, saying, this isn't an extension of Hinduism, and you can't make it be a religion. And then Daji came and turned it into a religion and buried that speech. I tried to find the speech, and no one could find it, and they wouldn't play it for anybody. So it was like, it was played at the ashram, and I just happened to be there, and then nobody else, heard it, and then it disappeared. But it's, it's what this system that I do represents, right? It's attitude that anybody can do it globally, and it's for everybody who has the ability to meditate and feel the transmission. And, people come and go as they please, and there's no force in any of these things. And so Charji married this couple. And both families end up getting guns, and they wanted to go to war with the other families. They lived in completely different parts of the country. And this woman's telling these stories about her husband. And she's a delicate, refined woman, educated, and she's a doctor. And her husband's a military brute. And she said, he drives his motorcycle like a wild man. One of our friends is a pilot, and he rode on the back of the motorcycle with my husband. And my husband is like a fucking maniac. Her husband's right there. And he goes, I'd go to Charji, and I would say, Master, what am I going to do? This guy's a fucking brute. Like, what could I do? He goes, he rode his motorcycle so crazy that even the pilot said he'd never ride with him again. And he was coming home, and there was a flood, and he ran his motorcycle and got caught in a river, and he was holding onto a root with one hand and a motorcycle with the other, and the water was so cold that what they eventually found out was his kidney inverted somehow. His kidney turned from the cold was trying to hold on to his fucking motorcycle. Eventually, he had to let go and pull himself out of the water. But he had been there too long, and they're used to hot temperatures, and his fucking kidney somehow like inverted, and the guy won't go to the fucking doctor. So like finally, she gets him. She goes, "You gotta go talk to Master. You're gonna fucking die." Something like he's whatever. Or maybe went to the doctor or didn't want to talk to Chargy about it. So he goes to talk to Chargy, and the security goes, "So you can't come in right now." And she goes, and she's telling us the story. So he slaps the security guard. Another guy comes up and he slaps him. And then she goes, "We go in to see Chargy." And I'm like, "This guy's an animal. I don't even know what's going on with it." She's talking about her husband, this guy. But I mean, talking to the guy, he wasn't like some big American, like you would think of American tough guy. I mean, I liked the guy. He was funny, but he was a little bit different. He's a little bit more aggressive than, but they're much more passive people. Like she's going and telling the story about, he's just slapping people. He's going in and like, fuck, he's a wild man. What am I going to do? She's this refined sort of prissy woman. But somehow their marriage worked, even though there was these differences, and this is another thing, right? Like when they arrange marriages, oftentimes it isn't great for the kids, the couple. Like one or both the people is disappointed and they just learn to live with it. Sometimes they'd have these marriages, the kids would be 14 years old, they get married, at a young age, and that would be it, right? That was their whole life. But people don't understand this, that people are raised with a completely different orientation towards life. And there's cultures around the world that don't value violence. In fact, that's a very immature country, and America being the top one. The people are not raised to be violent and to, they don't play violent video games and watch violent movies and play violent sports like football and all this stuff and be called a pussy if you don't want to, this kind of thing, right? And then the rest of the stuff, you can see what our culture values. Of course, TPUSGAY is, the way it is. Like everything's the way it is, the way Trump is. Like this is what happens, right? Like these are the things, this dramatic, a lot of it's, we really value the tragic hero, like a deeply flawed person whose flaws will just, overtake them, right? They'll just, destroy them, right? Like we see this all the time. And, this tragic hero, Greek tragedies, where somebody's, there's some kind of thing that they have inside of them and it comes out and they can't stop it. It's a kind of a twisted or hidden way of talking about samskaras. And that, people just, implode and they self-destruct. And you see this time and time again, then there'll be some redemptive aspect where they'll figure it out and change it. But in real life, that doesn't happen. Like there's the real story is a person, has abilities and they have something, but inside them is something that's going to sabotage that. And, more than likely the sabotage part ends up sticking. There isn't some transformation where the person gets it and throws out their problems and their shitty qualities and they rise above it. They give something up to make it work, which is what, I talked about this extensively in a video not long ago, right? Where you have to give something up to be successful. You have to change. There's things inside you have to give up, and people just don't want to do that. But suffices to say, in all these religions, the three religions that come out of the Judeo-Christian, Islamic religions, there's a lot of drama. There's a lot of, a fearing God, like God-fearing, what I talked about, an angry God, a jealous God, right? A selfish God, that when you have that as your understanding of divinity, and there's a fear of God, and there's it doesn't work. Fear doesn't work. Like fear works in short periods of time, but people just can't. People don't want to live in fear. They're trying to, either get away from it or, overcome it or whatever. When you're being bullied and you're being forced to do things out of fear, of intimidation, it works. People knuckle under for a short, hold a gun to somebody's head and you get them to do what you want, but it's not something that lasts, right? And so, this attitude that's in these religions. And in the Hindu religion, which I say over and over again, number one, it's where the soul was discovered. So everyone's a little bit Hindu, like, from this. And again, I'm talking about 100,000 years ago. Like the religion today is lesser than. But they also believe that there are going to be more higher developed souls coming. And so they're open to new spiritual saints and masters. And it's a problem because there's a lot of fake, phony, gurus over there, grifters So that's a problem. There's always problems, but the good thing is that there is a pathway where you can become spiritual yourself, and it's valued, like in society, true spirituality. And, that happens internally, so it's hard for people to judge. So there's always going to be grifters. And you don't do it for fame and fortune or to start your own thing. But, like that's what happens there. But, of course, there's real legitimate spiritual people. And they accept that there's other people out there like Jesus and other spiritual figures that aren't, directly related to Hinduism, but are also valued and appreciated. So they look for divinity. They say, the divinity in me bows before you, that bows before the divinity in you, which, it's a wonderful greeting and attitude. And so there's lots of shit that I don't like about India. It's been, corrupted and hijacked. It's becoming westernized, and they have their own bullshit, and some of it's intolerable, if you grew up in a different kind of a culture. And the passivity there and some of the weakness and, some of the softness there has prevented them from doing what's right about the Sajmarg system collapsing under this, this clown Dodgy and, not speaking up to elders. And, there's things there that are good, but also get misused. And, it's all these cultures have certain things, my own culture, American culture, and then the culture of my, European ancestors. And then, all these various cultures and religions around the world. There's always, there's no really great one. They all have great people and great things about them. But there's, lots of flaws in it. Otherwise, we'd have a society full of saints, right? But the Hindu religion, for this reason of being open and acknowledging people like Jesus and then looking for more people like that to come through, it's just always been the land of spirituality. And it sucks now in lots of ways. It's a material pit. It's overpopulated, and it's a mess. But it's still there. Like, there's no better place to connect to God. It just has all this spiritual energy there, and it's a great place for spiritual people to be born. And so for that, there's certain great things about India, which I am 100% convinced of. I didn't like it when I went there at first, my first 2 trips there. But one trip, my 3rd trip, and then my extended stay there, I loved it. I just loved it. There was something there that I really appreciated, thought about moving there, and, probably never going to go back, at least in this life. The ashrams have been corrupted, and the organization I belong to, the energy isn't there like it was, so there's no reason for me to go back, and I have no interest in it, so that's, I'm not fucking naive about it. I'm just, I'm honest about these different things, and I don't have any, I don't have any horse in the race, right? I have, there's part of me that's American, there's part of me that's, had past lives and things in these other cultures, and part of me that has been influenced by all these things. But, I was able to call bullshit on Dodgy, and in a way that, and, this thing for me is a lot, what I've experienced at Sajmarg is a lot better than what people get from their religion. What Sajmarg had to offer and what it did for all of us was far superior to any of these religions and any of these other things. And to watch it go, it's like watching Jesus' work get corrupted, for Christians. If you were there at that time and watching it turn into a very corrupt fucking bullshit thing and not what Jesus intended. It's like what people who believed in Turning Point and Charlie Kirk watching it be turned into the opposite, and they're freaking out. My thing is 1,000 times worse than that because, it was, a legitimate spiritual system that could have helped reverse all the fucking problems that people have today by helping people change and rise to a higher level. And now it's completely fucked up. But, even with that, I didn't deny it. When I saw the things, whatever. So, it's just for people to know. I'm not bragging about it. It's just, what happened. People who are here and listen to me, they could see what I was going through. At a time where I was going through a divorce and having to restart my life. My whole world kind of imploded. And I just, dealt with it the best I could. And I sucked it up and moved on and, and remained grateful and, stayed on my spiritual path and adapted to what had to be adapted to. So, it's there for anybody to see. It's in the Journey series, even my redone Journey series, I talk about this. And then there's, the videos that someday I'll re-upload that cover this period of time. Anyways, all right, so I don't have to put this video up till this is going up Sunday. Yeah, so I have a video that's going up tonight, and then there's not anything going up tomorrow, so I'm going to stop here and then add some things maybe tomorrow or whatever. This video is already pretty long. Okay, so this is Saturday, January 24th. I was going to add some things to this video if, like, Candace posted another video. Thankfully, she didn't last night because, you know, this thing's kind of run its course. But, you know, this is what everyone had been waiting for the whole time, where she's just going at Erika, and, you know, it'd be great if Erika responded, but she can't because, you know, she's Erika. But I'm going to start working on my video for Monday. This video is going up tomorrow on Sunday morning. And so, you know, all of the above. Only spirituality will save this world. It's paramount, definitely pointing to the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.